Good evening, George Mustang families. Just wanted to welcome you tonight to our virtual back to school night. I am Amy Whitney. I am the principal at George Middle School. And tonight, Miss Madeline Allen, our assistant principal, and I are going to be sharing some of the work that we've started with staff this year and that we'll continue working on together as a community.
Hi, George Middle School. My name is Madeline Allen, and I am the new assistant principal here at George. I am so happy to be with you all here tonight. A little bit about me. My whole career was spent as a middle school language arts and social studies teacher. So I love middle school. I am the daughter of two middle school teachers, so I've been immersed in middle school pretty much my whole life. It is my passion, and I am so happy to be here. And I am excited about our virtual back to school night. So, what you are looking at here is something called the Portland Public Schools Graduate Portrait. And a couple years ago, this was developed with input from a bunch of different community members. Of course, we had teachers, administrators, district level administrators, but we also had, small business owners, parents, leaders of nonprofits, students themselves, all work together to create this vision of what a Portland Public School graduate would look like. So, what you're seeing here are 9 qualities that we believe a Portland Public Schools graduate should have. And so here at George, these are the qualities that we are working to create in our students. So go ahead and just take a few seconds to look at these graduate portrait essentials.
To ensure that we are doing what we can to meet the needs of our students this year. And so as a staff, that meant we wanted to really look at 4 things. So for us, those 4 things are looking at being adaptive, resilient, and open to change. And certainly in this time, as we are all learning new tools and we're all learning them together, having that mindset that we are finding different ways to engage kids in the online curriculum and finding different ways to communicate with you, because as parents, you are more than ever our partners in your child's education. We've got to do this together because they're at home learning with their first teacher, you, right now, with our guidance through the screen. One of the other things that we really think about in this time, knowing that we are isolated in our homes, many of us under this pandemic, how do we focus on building those caring relationships, empathy, just all about relationship with students. And you'll notice that for us, it has meant a change in our advisory this year, that every teacher has an advisory class, and that advisory class is intentionally really small. There's no more than 15 kids in every advisory, and that is so that teachers can really build those deep relationships with kids, that those 15 kids in that class who meet 4 times a week are really focused on supporting each other and understanding each other and building those connections together. The other thing we know we need to be right now is really responsive to our diverse learners, inclusive and responsive. And that means we need to think about different ways that we're giving information, different ways that we are creating assignments based on the needs and the skill levels of students. So we're looking for different tools and ways that we can do that more effectively as adults this year, as teachers this year. And then finally, in this time, in this world right now, more than ever, we need students who are transformative racial equity leaders. And for us as adults, that means we are centering our work in racial equity and social justice. So you'll see that not only in our advisory this year, but also throughout our curriculum. How do we really embed those racial equity and social justice pieces into our school curriculum? Community is an important theme for us through through this year. Really, how do we, again, in this virtual world, build in opportunities for us to connect in different ways? A community really is about people holding each other, people who have a shared space and a shared things in common. And for us, that shared space is George Middle School. And what we all share in common is the desire for our students to be successful and to have the opportunity to do whatever they want, that all doors remain open for all of our kids. So, how do we work together toward that common purpose? And the other thing that is built in community is we do that by caring deeply about each other and ensuring that everyone in our community has those opportunities.
So what you're looking at here are some student survey results from a survey called the Successful School Survey. Some of you might actually remember taking it as a parent. So of course, students also take this survey. And so one of the areas that George is really thriving is in this area of diversity and inclusion. So if you take a look at these 4 questions, they're all asking students to think about their interactions at school and how often they interact with students from other cultures, races, and ethnicities. And how this survey works is it gives you a favorable rating. So what that means for like question number 1, for example, how often do you spend time at school with students from different races, ethnicities, or cultures? 82% of our students answered with a favorable response. And a favorable response for this question, and it looks like from questions 2 and 3, is almost always or frequently. So 82% of our students almost always or frequently are spending time with students from different races, ethnicities, and cultures, which is really exciting. And is one of the things that makes George Middle School such a special place for our students. We know that in this digital pandemic climate, social emotional learning is going to be more important than it perhaps has ever been before. So here at George, we have a lot of different ways that we are allowing students to grow their social emotional competencies. The social emotional competencies, there are 5, and they are in that graphic that you see right there. Self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision making, relationship skills, and social awareness. So, in their advisories that they have Monday through Thursday, students are receiving lessons from their advisory teachers that help them grow in all those social emotional competencies there. We also have lunchtime affinity groups where students can go and engage with their peers, their same race peers, and talk about issues that are really specific to them. So we have Lucha for our Latina students. We have BSU for our Black African American students. We have QSA for our LGBTQ plus students, and we have a Native American club for our Indigenous students. We also have 2 student leadership classes this year that are going to focus on those 3 things you see there. Peer mediation, which is really just like it sounds. We'll have students that are trained in restorative justice practices, and they can actually facilitate conversations between students that are a little just not getting along or having a misunderstanding. We have student government that's going to be responsible for getting several programs off the ground. And then we have a unified Special Olympics program that also gives our students the ability to interact with their differently bodied peers. All these 3 things help our students grow their social emotional learning competencies.
All right, so that's a little bit about both Ms. Allen and just myself and our overall program that we're going to be doing this year at George. I wanted to direct you back to our website and just give you a few hints as you navigate the night. So you can see right here, we are going into heading into advisory class. So you're thinking about the day like your student. So you're heading into advisory, and then to first, second, third, all the way through seventh period. And then again, there's that optional PTA meeting at the end of the night that's here. You can see your teachers, your students' teachers have either posted videos or they'll be at Google Meets. Some have some additional resources here. You'll be able to find all of that information on this website here. Don't forget to scroll all the way down to the bottom if you're curious about our unified program and take a look at this unified slideshow. It's another great opportunity for students to get involved at George. Again, Miss Allen and I are going to be hanging out in a Google meeting over here. So if you come to the top, it says have a question or need help. We'll be there through the event, and then we'll see you at the PTA meeting at 6:45. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night.